Welcome to Forward Filmmaker, a podcast from Filmhub. I'm Max Sanders. You may know me from my podcast, Buzz in the Tower, where I discuss my favorite 80s films. But this one is different. The film industry is changing, and filmmakers must adapt. On Forward Filmmaker, we'll be talking with directors and producers about the pains and opportunities facing the modern filmmaker.
This podcast is brought to you by Filmhub, the #1 film distribution platform. Join thousands of filmmakers who are keeping their rights and getting paid on time. Submit your film today at filmhub.com and have it streamed on Amazon Prime Video, IMDb TV, Tubi, the Roku channel, Plex, and dozens more.
Joining me today is Los Angeles-based actor, producer, and director David Lascher. David has an extensive acting background, with roles on iconic 20th century TV shows, including Beverly Hills 90210, Hey Dude, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Blossom, Full House, and Roseanne. In more recent years, he has directed and co-written the award-winning film Sister, now streaming on Tubi and Amazon Prime. David also co-created the viral 2019 short comedy series Cruisers and Shakers. He has successfully made the leap from actor to writer-director and has a variety of projects on the horizon. Today, he'll be talking about the acting to directing shift and how his experiences on the other side of the camera help inform his directorial style. David, welcome to Forward Filmmaker.
Thank you for having me.
So I want to say first off, your late 80s Nickelodeon show, Hey Dude, was a favorite in the Sanders household. So big fan over here.
Thank you. It was a good time in my life as well.
So you were raised in the suburbs of New York City and have this extensive acting background with roles on Sabrina the Teenage Witch, Roseanne, Beverly Hills 90210, and the list goes on. How did you get into acting as a kid?
I did theater when I was in 8th grade and 9th grade. And I didn't really tell many of my friends, I don't know. It was something I would just enjoy doing, the camaraderie with the cast and putting on a play. And I just loved it. And one of the shows that I did was called By Audition Only. And it was a musical. And during that show, managers and agents came. And I signed with a manager named Shirley Grant, who, she had the Cosby Kids and Allison Smith from Annie. And she was she was a real great mentor. And her office, started right away sending me in on all kinds of commercials. And then by 10th grade, I was auditioning for TV pilots and TV shows. I remember I flew, was it 9th grade or 10th grade? I flew to LA to test for a series regular role on Who's the Boss?
Oh my God.
With Alyssa Milano.
Yep.
And Tony Danza. And I didn't get it, but it wet my palate and I was just gung ho. And then later in that year, I got a pilot for NBC and I was just off and running.
So it was a kind of a quick process for you. It seems like it wasn't like you were 4 years old being trotted off to commercials.
No. It was not part of my real childhood. By 9th or 10th grade, I was going from high school. Scarsdale High School was not far from the train station. Mm-hmm. I would either get a quick cab or catch a ride to the train station after school and go right into Manhattan. And I'd be off on my auditions, running around the city on my own.
That's awesome. So you have all the success being an actor. When did you decide to shift your focus to writing and directing?
Oh, that was many years later. I think after Sabrina ended in 2003, within a couple years, I partnered up with Todd Cammey, who was my brother-in-law. My wife is Jill. Her brother, Scott, was married to Todd's wife. So we were sort of family. He had been selling screenplays for a long time, and he really taught me how to write screenplays. And we started co-writing together. And we sold one pilot to Fox that took a year of development. And after that, we just were let's write something that we can make ourselves, Mm-hmm. So we ended up writing Sister, and it took a number of years to get that made. But he was my partner in screenwriting.
So speaking of Sister, it's this powerful portrayal of mental health, adolescence, and family, and it feels really true to life. The sibling relationship between Billy and Nikki comes off as authentic. Is that based on any personal experiences of yours?
Yeah. So Sister was born from the idea. I have a mom who struggled with mental illness. My father passed away untimely, and I had a young adopted sister that I really didn't know very well because I was 14 when my mom and dad adopted Carly, who is Nikki. And as we discussed, I was like flying to LA. I was living in California, and then I was living in Tucson, junior and senior year of high school, doing Hey Dude. So I wasn't even really home during her formative years. And when my dad passed away and my mother struggled with her issues, and I had to take legal guardianship of Carly, the screenplay was born from the idea of like, what would happen if this kid had to come crashing into my life?
Mm-hmm.
And then, we had to dramatize it in the sense that we had to make my character struggling in a way that I wasn't in real life. What if he was in a bad marriage? What if he was stuck in his career? What if the worst thing that could possibly happen to him was the thing that actually saved him? So we turned it into a screenplay, but it was born out of characters from my life. Yeah.
I just want to thank you for sharing with that, because the mental health stuff just in 2022, it just seems very important.
Oh yeah, man. My sisters and I had been dealing with that before it was a topical issue. I mean, my mom had several bouts in the hospital and shock treatments with bipolar disorder. And when my dad passed away, she was in the hospital for a long time. And this is before anyone even spoke about it. So
Right.
it was challenging, and I think being able to write about it was a healthy way of dealing with it in some way.
Absolutely. And let's talk about the actors that portray these roles. The casting, it's just this rock star group of actors. You have Grace Kaufman, you have Reed Scott of Veep, you have John Hurd from Home Alone and Big, and up and comers like Serinda Swan. So you and your co-creator Todd seem to have really tapped into these heavyweight actors, some before they even broke out. Like, did your past experience in front of the camera help you in casting?
Yeah, for sure. In casting the role of Nikki and Grace Kaufman, she was the second girl we read. I got to give kudos to Emily Schweber, who's an amazing independent film casting director. And when we finished the script and sent it out as a Go movie, and Emily put it out to all the agencies, it got great coverage, which, to this day, I'm just so grateful. And getting Barbara Hershey, for me, I'm a big Woody Allen fan.
Sure.
And just the idea of her playing my mom, I remember when I got the call that she said she would do it. I was on the East Coast in New Jersey with my family, and I was like, oh my goodness. Like the same girl that, from Hannah and Her Sister is going to be on my set playing my lead. And Ileana Douglas, Reed Scott, not only came in an audition, but wrote me a whole email about how he'd like to get together for dinner and discuss why the role was so important to him. And Grace Kaufman, as I was saying, was the second girl we read out of probably, 2 months of auditions, hundreds of auditions, and nobody could live up to what she did, which was be able to react without a predetermined performance. You know what I mean? Like Todd and I just knew this girl was incredible. And, she has a movie coming out soon called The Sky is Everywhere with Jason Segel. And she's a rare talent.
So give us a little behind the scenes insight of the casting process. You talked about kind of improvisation. Did you throw that into your casting? Like, did you throw them curveballs?
No, I'll tell you what it was. It was a scene where Nikki's at her locker and her brother comes and for the first time he sees her flip out and she starts to panic that the kids all hate her and she doesn't belong there. And it's the first time he sees her freak out. And instead of her coming into the scene freaking out, Grace started the scene very perplexed, like, what are you doing here? And then it built and it grew, and I saw her turn. I saw her get upset. You know what I mean? And it's just something you see in an audition where you're like, okay, this kid didn't come in, with the training and the planning and everything timed out. She came in and reacted in the middle of a scene. We should have just cast her on day 2 and saved ourselves 2 months.
It's like real estate. Sometimes the first house is the right house.
Yeah, exactly.
So to sum up, what are your top casting tips for other directors looking to crush it and get the right talent for their scripts?
Well, there's two different aspects to it. Number one aspect is trying to get the most high profile talent you can to work for your budget. I had Barbara Hershey and Reed Scott changing in my daughter Chelsea's bedroom. You need to put out a script that has really interesting roles for actors. Not to say horror movies or genre movies are lesser than or anything, but you give an actor a role that goes from A to B to C and has a very interesting arc and maybe issues such as Sister with the over medicating of children and diagnosing them with disorders, and you can get actors that are way out of your league to start looking at your script. And then the second tier is when you're sitting in the casting rooms. That's where I think my having been an actor helped me zone in or find the actors that knew what the hell they were doing. And I think when you're in the room with them, try and weed out the actors that come in and do the same thing every time and they have it all planned out, and give me the actor that can adjust and adapt and change and stay with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So you don't want a robot. I think they say genius is how much you can improvise, basically, on the spot.
Yeah, I agree. Someone that can stay with you and change and improvise. They're going to serve you well when you're shooting.
Yeah. So did you have any director interactions that really affected you when you were in front of the camera?
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. I mean, Ridley Scott, when I did White Squall, we were together for 6 months, and the things I learned from Ridley were, nobody's going to work harder than you. You're going to set the tone as the director. And when Ridley's hanging off the side of the boat in Cape Town, South Africa, in 50-foot swells, you're not going to complain that you're not being used and you've been there for 8 hours. It's a work ethic. Ridley hires actors very carefully in the casting process, and then he's off with the visuals, and you're there to do your job. So he very rarely gives you a note, or he'll go a little more or a little less, and that's really it. Like he hired you because he saw something. And then another great director in TV, Henry Winkler, came on to Sabrina. It was like the 5th season, And when you're on a fifth season on a hit TV show, a lot of times you lose perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And, people are trying to get back to their trailer, or what time am I wrapped today, And I remember Henry and I were working out a bit. And I don't remember exactly what it was, but he called me at home at like 9 or 10 o'clock at night to go over this bit that he had some idea for.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, this guy who's been working for 30 years at the highest level is more concerned about how this scene is going to play than any of the actors. It just taught me, like, if you're going to do it, then do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At any level, you come to play with everything you got. Your motivation is not what time do I wrap. It's how do I make this the best it can be? And I'll never forget Henry calling me at late at night to work out a bit. And I was like, wow, it just woke me up. Like,
Yeah. I mean, you just told two of the most motivational stories from two powerhouses in film and TV. So thank you for sharing that. I mean, Henry Winkler, it's so funny. I think of the show Barry, him being the acting coach. I just pictured him with that passion. And just calling
that's
you.
Him, dude. That's totally him. He is like all in,
Oh, that's so wonderful. And I'm glad that they both, injected their influence on you.
Yeah, me too.
Are there any specific mistakes you made when you first started directing and producing that became valuable learning moments?
On Sister, we started to run out of money.
Oh, wow.
I think your scheduling and your first AD on a film are incredibly important, and having money for post-production and finishing and color correction and music and sound editing, have that all priced in. Because I remember having to go raise money for post-production, and that was not fun. But yeah, on productions and working with Group 9 Media, the production of the show was my favorite part. Really. I mean, anything, there's so much that can go wrong in the development and the selling of the show or the financing of it. But I think, most filmmakers have waited so long to direct their thing that when they're on the set, they should know what they want. And it usually goes well for them.
So on another one of your recent projects, the short comedy series, Cruisers and Shakers, which was kind of about actors who are also Uber drivers trying to make it. It was released on Facebook Watch in 2019. How do you choose Facebook as the distribution platform?
Well, I started working with Group 9 Media, which has just grown bigger and bigger. And the niche or the genre of branded entertainment has become enormous. And they have all these different properties like Thrillist, The Now, Pop Sugar, the Dodo, all these different platforms. And they look at the show and say, okay, the right audience for this show is Thrillist, which is a travel, dining, entertainment destination type website or platform, if you will. And their biggest audience is on Facebook. So we went to the Thrillist Facebook Watch page and launched the show. And I really, basically I deferred to Group 9's, really intelligent, digital minds on how we would get the best audience. Because, for me, I wanted to make the show that I wanted to make and tell the stories that I wanted to tell. But at the end of the day, I can't find the audience. They can. And that's where I deferred to them. And they were unbelievable in getting us, millions of viewers.
Yeah, I think every episode had over 1 million views.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you think social media reaching viewers, do you think that's the kind of wave of the future when it comes to streaming and all?
Yeah, I mean, there's, as you see with Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, Paramount Plus, I mean, all these
Yeah.
streamers. But then there's, there's Tubi, and there's a whole second tier of enormous audiences that are waiting for your content, and you don't have to go sell to a network or a studio, then a network, and take a year to maybe get your show made. You can go and make it and find a platform with an audience.
Yeah, it's so funny. When I saw Cruisers and Shakers, I saw 20 of my friends on Facebook had already seen and followed it.
That's awesome, dude. I'm so proud of that show. It's as funny as I wanted it to be, and it's about the shared economy and what it does for younger people and how they can continue to pursue their dreams. I'm really, really happy with that show.
And it felt like very pulse of 2019, like, smartphones, social media, streaming, Uber. So how does Hollywood feel different to you nowadays as opposed to when you were coming of age on those blockbuster syndicated network shows, pre the smartphone, pre social media?
I think there's more opportunity now.
Mm-hmm.
Back then it was like an established system. You go to the studio and you test, and then you go to network, and the network signs off on you and the show. And now, they may be cut out of the equation. And if you want to do a show, there are many opportunities for you to do it without Paramount or Universal or Warner Brothers telling you that you can do it. So I think there's a lot of opportunity now for talented people to make interesting, entertaining, innovative content and find their own audience.
Yeah. So in that vein, what's on your plate for 2022?
I'm hoping to continue working with Group 9 Media on another comedy series, hopefully season 2 of Cruisers, which got held up due to the platform we sold it to dealing with a merger and with a much bigger media company. And then also a podcast we're working on called the Inside 90s Podcast with Group 9 and iHeart. Group 9 just merged with Vox Media as well. So they've become probably the biggest player in digital media if you take out TikTok. But they're great people there. My friend Daniel Kellison and Jimmy Kimmel and Adam Carolla, they started this comedy platform called Jash.
Mm-hmm.
It was Sarah Silverman and Michael Cera. And then they got acquired by Group 9 when we were doing Cruisers. So I was with them when they started as this small comedy platform, and then became part of this bigger digital media conglomerate. And now they've just grown even bigger. So I'm kind of trying to stay under that umbrella. And also I have there's a comedy feature film that I'm want to do like I did with Sister, and just put it together myself. It's a sports basketball romantic comedy.
There needs to be a new good sports movie. It's been a while.
Yeah, like a real sports comedy.
Yeah, give me some Teen Wolf.
Yeah, not far from that.
So what's the best film or show you've watched recently? What's on your mind right now?
Oh, wow. There's so much good stuff. Did you see Dope Sick?
Not yet. My sister is just over the moon about it. That's Michael Keaton, right? That's about the Purdue Pharmacy stuff.
Yes. About the creation of OxyContin. It's incredible. And it's a true story. What else have I watched? Did you see Don't Look Up?
Yeah, quite an ending.
I mean, I haven't watched that many movies this year, I guess, like everybody else, but that one, and Adam McKay is one of our favorites, and Leo is at the top of his game, and they're talking about climate change. That this is close to their hearts. I love that movie. I would recommend anyone living on this planet right now to go see that movie.
Wonderful. And even people living off of it. If Elon Musk is on Mars, you should watch it.
Elon Musk should definitely watch it.
Well, David, it's just been a wonderful experience talking to you. And thank you so much.
Finding an audience can be the greatest challenge a filmmaker can face. Filmhub is the answer to the distribution problems of the film community. Filmhub has helped countless directors get their projects onto major streaming services. So if you are finding the distribution side of filmmaking a frustrating battle, let the #1 film distribution platform do the heavy lifting for you.
Thanks for listening. Please subscribe, rate, and review Forward Filmmaker on whatever podcast platform you're using. The smallest gesture makes a world of difference, and we so appreciate it.